The Mondays, had the Heina Vaksha Toivloch, my dear translate, save some tzedakah, put it in the pushka. And today, the day after the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh Yortzeit, as we mentioned yesterday, I want to share with you two vignettes. One little thought and one interesting story. Thought is as following. It says regarding the Seder night, and you're asking why I'm talking about the Seder, because the Seder night, the experience of coming out of Egypt, is an ongoing issue, not just for the one night. And there it says, Yesh mitzvah lesaper, there's a mitzvah, v'gadeto levincho b'yoyim ahu leimoyer, says the pasuk, v'gadeto levincho, you should tell your son on that day to tell him this is why God took me out of Egypt. So the Ohr HaChaim asked the question, says, b'yoyim ahu, that day. The mitzvah is actually at night. The Seder is, as we all know, we do it at night, not during the day. So how come it says Bayoim Hahu, on that day? Should say Balayla Hahi, on that night. So the Ohr HaChaim says the following. Actually, when we came out of Egypt, it was a miracle that the night was as bright as the day. So first there's a mitzvah to tell children about this miracle that the night was bright. And he says this actually concurs with the whole idea of Yetzias Mitzrayim. The whole idea of the experience of coming out of Egypt is to transform the night into day, the darkness into light. So that's why the Torah says, "V'gadeto levincho b'yoyim hahu." You should tell your children about that day, not just the day in the past, but also the day in the future. That day is going to be day when the night is transformed into day, which is our task of the time of exile. And here is a nice story. This young man from Jerusalem relates how he would go every Thursday to the tomb, to the grave of the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh. On Har HaZeisim, that's where he's buried, and he would go pray, study, and spend time there on a regular weekly basis. And he would usually sit over there and study the Torah portion with the commentary of the Ohr HaChaim. The Mount of Olives is always, I shouldn't say always, is very often a hotbed of terrorism. It says particularly the time that he was going was even more, in simple terms, dangerous. But he would go. So one day, as he was there, and he was engrossed in his learning, suddenly he picked up his head and he noticed a Arab standing right behind him with a knife, ready, unfortunately, to plunge it into him. He got frightened, obviously. The Arab got startled by the fact that he noticed him, but he was standing there ready to carry out his intentions. So the spur of the moment, I just turned around to the grave, facing the grave of Ohr HaChaim, and I started praying. He says, Ohr HaChaim, please, I'm here for you. I'm here to connect with you. Please, save me. And after I pronounced this heartfelt, as you can realize, prayer, I turned around and I noticed that his fellow was going to kill me is frozen. And then suddenly he started trembling in fear and ran away. And I realized the phenomenal miracle that happened. As he ran, I also ran. I ran home. My mother noticed that something happened. She asked me what happened, and I told her. So my mother looked at me and said, son, from now on I don't think it's a good idea for you to go back there on a regular basis. It's dangerous. But I felt I have to go back. We negotiated and we agreed upon that we're going to ask the Rebbe his opinion, his advice and his blessing. A short while later the answer came and the Rebbe said to ask a local Rav, a decision maker, a Paisik Halachas. I went to Rav Weiss, Rav Yitzchak Weiss, he says, who was at that time the Badatz, the head of the Beis Din, the chief judge of the Beis Din of Yerushalayim, and I asked his opinion, and I told him what happened. So he responded to me, if the Rebbe told you to ask a question and the Rebbe didn't say outright no, that means the Rebbe wants you to go back, but he wants it to also have the power of Torah. So I am paskening, I'm saying that you should continue going. But the Rebbe also added another thing, to check the mezuzahs. And when I checked the mezuzah, in one of them, there were 3 letters that were found not well written. One was a ches, another letter was the letter resh, and the final letter was the letter vav. Taking those 3 letters together forms for the word cherev, sword.